How do you think services should respond to a patient who's newly diagnosed in terms of where to get that information and avoiding information overload? It's so tricky to find the right balance, isn't it?
It is, and I think the difficulty is that everybody is very different, so everyone is going to want to receive information in different ways. Some people want to be told by their medical team and they want to have the chance to ask all those questions, and that is important. My medical team were brilliant. My consultant sat in her consulting room with my partner and my mother while we threw questions at her for an hour and a half, and I was really grateful for that time. I'm really sorry to everybody who was sitting in the waiting room because we threw that system out, but I was really grateful for the time that she gave me to put questions to her. I was given all the leaflets and everything, and I read those, but I think I was in a state of shock, so it was difficult to actually absorb the information that I was being given, and I mean, I remember reading things, and I remember reading the same thing, a number of times, and sometimes not even realizing that I'd already read it previously, and it might only have been a few days before, because I was in a state of shock. So I think it's really difficult. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think everybody wants information in different ways, and will need information. We'll need the same information repeated to them because you're in a state of shock, and also because you forget. Because there's so much information coming at you, it's really easy to forget something that you've been told, a day or two previously.
For sure.
And then, sometimes I wanted somebody to talk to, sometimes I just wanted to read something. The one thing I didn't do, and this was actually suggested to me by my consultant, was I didn't go on the internet. I use the internet a lot to find out things and to learn things, but she said to me, don't go on the internet, don't do that, don't go and research it. And I didn't do that, and I'm really glad that I didn't, because I trusted my medical team and I trusted what they were saying, and I went with the information and advice that they were giving to me, and that worked for me.
Perhaps there's a role for the medical team to direct the patient to relevant, useful information that includes online.
Yeah.
In other words, at the moment, we're kind of in this information excess period where there's a lot of people putting up stuff which is, some good, some medium, some low quality information, and some of it may be misinformation. So the worst thing is to find information that's completely incorrect and then believe that and get distressed as a result. But the medical team could have a role highlighting what's important. And so perhaps tailoring specific things to specific patients may be the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's if the medical team can suggest trusted sources and actually recommend places to go, because the last thing that I wanted to do when I was diagnosed was to go online and to find people who'd had bad experiences. I wanted to have a positive experience of cancer. That sounds weird, but I wanted to have a positive experience. So it was important to me that I didn't get confused. And the one thing I did know, because my medical team had told me this, is that there are so many different types of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and because there are so many different types, and because the people who receive the diagnosis are all very different as well, that treatment can vary. So the last thing I wanted to do was to go online, find somebody who'd been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. When I didn't, at that point I knew that was the type of lymphoma I had. I didn't know the subtype, and I now know there are over 60 subtypes. I didn't want to go and find somebody who had a different subtype and who went through a particular treatment regime which may not have been the same as mine, and to find out, to read about what their experience had been, when actually that wasn't relevant to me.
Yeah.